Act as if you are the best. No one is better than you. That sentence can sound bold, even confrontational, until you understand what it is really saying. It is saying you stop living beneath your own power. It is saying you stop shrinking to fit rooms that were never built for your future. It is saying you stop measuring your value through the eyes of people who never understood where you are going. In this session, you will learn how to become hard to shake by rebuilding your identity brick by brick, thought by thought, action by action, until your presence matches the life you want to live. You will learn why confidence is not a gift but a decision. You will learn why presence is not inherited but chosen. You will learn why identity is not discovered but built. You will learn why results follow identity, why success follows belief, and why opportunities follow presence. There is a truth most people never fully confront. You are not less than anyone, not in potential, not in worth, not in ability, yet somewhere along the line, life, comparison, and doubt convinced you to live smaller than you are. You learn to question yourself. You learn to lower your voice. You learn to let fear soften you. You learn to let doubt shrink you. And each time you did, you stepped further away from the person you were meant to become. Today that ends. Today you reclaim the identity life tried to take from you, not by waiting for proof, not by waiting for applause, not by waiting for permission. You rebuild from the inside first. Because the way you show up shapes the world's response to you, not your history, not your background, not your circumstances, your identity. If you show up small, the world shrinks you further. If you show up uncertain, the world questions your worth. But when you show up with the energy of the best, even before results appear, the world adjusts. This session is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to who you were always meant to be. And as you move through these chapters, keep one thing in mind. This is training. This is reconstruction. This is create your iron mind in action. Chapter 1: Build the strongest version of you. Strength is not something you stumble into. Strength is something you build deliberately, one decision at a time. Most people wait for strength like they wait for luck, as if one day they will wake up suddenly confident, suddenly disciplined, suddenly unstoppable. But strength does not appear like a miracle. It appears like a structure. You build it brick by brick, habit by habit, identity by identity. The person you become tomorrow is shaped by the actions you choose today, and you cannot act like the best while thinking like the weakest version of yourself. If your identity is rooted in past failures, old labels, or inherited insecurities, no amount of external success will make you strong. Confidence begins on the inside long before the world ever sees evidence of it. This is why this chapter is the foundation for everything that follows. Without inner strength, every other skill cracks under pressure. You were taught to measure yourself by outcomes, wins, losses, performance, achievements, but outcomes do not build identity. Identity builds outcomes. A strong identity produces a strong life. A weak identity produces a fragile one. Strength begins with the decision to stop waiting and start becoming. Start where identity is easiest to shape. Start at the beginning of your day. Your mornings are the command center of your life, before the world speaks, before responsibilities pile up, before distractions find you. Your mind is still yours. What you do in those first moments determines the tone of every decision that follows. The strongest people do not negotiate their mornings, they claim them. 1 hour without your phone puts your mind back into leadership mode. One action that builds momentum, reading, moving your body, writing your goals, realigns you with who you are becoming, and then you anchor it with identity statements. 3 statements, simple, direct, repeated daily. I show up, I'm enough, I lead my life. These are not motivational phrases, they are psychological anchors. They interrupt self-doubt. They shift your nervous system into readiness. They remind you that you are responsible for your state, not your circumstances. Your morning is not just a routine. Your morning is an identity ritual, but strength is not only rituals. Strength is rewriting the internal story of who you are. If your inner voice is still shaped by old criticism, old mistakes, or old versions of you, you will sabotage your new life with outdated beliefs. You must begin speaking to yourself like someone building greatness, not someone barely surviving. When you catch yourself saying, I can't, challenge it. When you hear, I'm not good enough, replace it. When your mind brings up past failures, answer with present intention. This is not delusion. This is discipline, mental discipline, identity discipline. Strength becomes real the moment you stop letting emotions lead and start letting standards lead instead. Standards are the spine of identity. They tell your mind what is acceptable, what is non-negotiable, what is beneath you, and what your future demands from you. A strong identity refuses to shrink to fit weak habits. Your standards become your silent language, how you speak to yourself, how you take care of your body, how you set boundaries, how you manage attention, how you execute commitments. When standards rise, decisions rise with them. You cannot build a strong life with weak standards. Strength is not intensity, strength is consistency. Anyone can be disciplined for a day, anyone can be motivated for a week. The strongest version of you is built on the days where nothing seems exciting, where progress feels slow, where the work is repetitive. Consistency does not look glamorous, but it builds a foundation that cannot be shaken. Elite performers rely on identity-based habits because identity outlasts motivation. Identity outlasts mood. Identity outlasts fear. If you want to build the strongest version of yourself, do not ask, what do I feel like doing today? Ask, what action aligns with the person I am becoming? That question changes trajectories because identity is not something you wait for. Identity is something you choose. Becoming strong also means confronting weaker parts with honesty. Acknowledge where you have been undisciplined, recognize where you made excuses, see where comfort went over growth, not to shame yourself but to understand yourself. Self-awareness builds self-correction, self-correction builds self-trust, self-trust builds strength, strength builds the life you want, strength is a choice, your choice every day. When you decide to show up differently, your life changes. When you elevate standards, results change. When you lead your mind instead of letting it lead you, everything changes. You will notice it first in your thoughts, your posture, your decisions. Then the world will notice it in how you speak, how you move, how you carry yourself. Strength radiates. People feel it before you say a word. When you grow strong inside, the noise outside loses power over you. A strong identity does not break under pressure. A strong identity grows under pressure. You are not building muscles, you are building a mindset, you are building character, you are building an identity that can carry the success you want. Chapter 2: Silence the noise, guard your mind. The strongest version of you cannot rise in a mind filled with noise. Your mind is the battlefield where your future is either won or lost. Every day you wake up carrying a mind that wants to grow, yet you place it in environments full of voices that shrink it. You scroll, you compare, you absorb opinions that do not belong to your identity. You listen to people who have no idea what your future demands. And before your day even begins, confidence has already taken a hit. Noise does not just distract you, noise distorts you. Noise disconnects you from the voice that matters most, your own. Many people think their problem is lack of discipline, lack of clarity, or lack of consistency. The deeper issue is that their mind is so crowded with the voices of the world that they can no longer hear the direction of their own potential. You cannot build a strong life inside a noisy head. Silencing the noise is not a luxury, it is survival. Guarding your mind is not optional, it is essential. Your attention is not free, it is your most expensive currency. Where attention goes, identity grows. Where attention goes, confidence grows. Where attention goes, your future goes. The wrong input destroys the right identity. The right input destroys the wrong identity. That is why you reclaim your mind with intention. Confidence is not built by repeating affirmations alone. Confidence is built by removing contamination. Mental pollution makes strong people act small. It makes capable people hesitate. It makes brilliant people question themselves. Nothing kills potential faster than a mind that doubts itself. Think about how quickly your state changes when you scroll through the lives of others. Comparison pulls you into insecurity. Criticism pulls you into defense. Random content pulls your mind into chaos. You are not overwhelmed because you are weak. You are overwhelmed because you are overstimulated. Silencing the noise begins with the courage to unplug. not permanently, intentionally. Your mind is not meant to process thousands of signals before breakfast. You need space, you need simplicity, you need silence. That is why the 90-minute focus block is one of the strongest tools you can adopt. During this block, notifications are off, apps are closed, distractions are eliminated. This is your first act of reclaiming power. This is where you learn to hear yourself again. In these 90 minutes, you are no longer responding. You are creating. You are no longer comparing. You are building. You are no longer absorbing. You are choosing. Then comes your attention architecture. Build a whitelist and a blacklist. Choose 3 sources that elevate you: mentors, sessions, voices, philosophies. These are the inputs that strengthen identity and remind you who you are becoming. Then create a blacklist. 5 sources that consistently weaken you: people who drain your energy, platforms that steal focus, accounts that trigger comparison, content that feeds anxiety, voices that keep pulling you back toward a version of you have outgrown. When you decide what enters your mind, you decide who you become. Your attention is not a doorway. It is a fortress. Treat it like one. Then comes a difficult task. Remove 10 people who make you feel smaller, not because you are better than them, but because you are building a life that requires mental clarity. Energy is contagious and negative energy spreads fastest. Some people love the weaker version of you because it makes them comfortable. When you grow, you threaten their identity. When you rise, you expose their stagnation. When you evolve, you force them to confront truths they have avoided. Not everyone can walk with you into your future, and that is okay. Guarding your mind also means mastering internal noise. You can turn off your phone, but if you do not turn off self-doubt, the noise continues. The greatest noise is not the world. It is the untrained inner voice that questions your worth. Teach your mind to speak differently. Speak with leadership instead of fear. Speak with intention instead of insecurity. Speak with clarity instead of confusion. Say it and mean it. My mind is my territory. I guard it. Identity grows in silence. Confusion grows in chaos. Strength grows in discipline. Weakness grows in distraction. That is why solitude is not loneliness. Solitude is leverage. This is where ideas form. This is where confidence forms. This is where identity forms. Sit with yourself long enough to remember who you are. The paradox is simple. The world outside becomes manageable the moment the world inside becomes quiet. When your mind is calm, criticism loses impact. When your mind is strong, comparison loses relevance. When your mind is guarded, negativity loses access. When your mind is intentional, fear loses control. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop absorbing and start creating. You stop shrinking and start rising. Ask yourself questions most people avoid. What voices have I allowed inside my head that do not belong there? What thoughts do I repeat that sabotage my potential? What noise am I addicted to that keeps me from hearing myself? Because the strongest version of you does not come from better information, it comes from better attention. Your attention builds your reality builds your identity builds your future. Say it again, my attention builds my life. The moment you believe that is the moment everything changes. Silencing the noise is not isolation, it is liberation. It is freeing your mind from distractions so your future can finally breathe. When your mind is quiet, you become dangerous in the best way. You see clearly, you move intentionally, you choose powerfully, you live deliberately. In Chapter 3, Fight for Your Future. When no one believes in you, you do not need anyone else to believe in you. You only need yourself. Some of the most defining moments in life happen when you are completely alone mentally, emotionally, strategically. No one is cheering, no one understands, no one sees your vision. In that silence, most people quit. The strongest people fight for their future even when no one else does. This is where become hard to shake begins, not in public, but in private. Not in the moment you win, but in the moment you refuse to fold. Belief is the soil in which achievement grows. If belief is weak, everything collapses. You may have resources, you may have talent, you may have opportunity. Without belief, your potential stays invisible, unrealized, unclaimed. Self-belief is not a feeling, it is a discipline. It is a practice you repeat until it becomes your baseline. It is the calm decision to keep going when the emotional part of you wants proof first. If you want to become hard to shake, you have to stop demanding certainty before you act. You have been underestimated, overlooked. You have worked while others doubted you. You have delivered effort that went unrecognized. You have felt invisible, and that pain can either poison you or sharpen you. Your worth was never defined by recognition, applause, or validation. It was defined by your action, your resilience, and your internal commitment. The world follows those who lead themselves first, and leading yourself means you keep your standards even when no one is clapping. You keep your promises even when no one is watching. You keep your direction even when no one understands it. That is how you become hard to shake. When you fight for your future, you begin with evidence. Small wins, daily victories, repeated proof that you are moving in the right direction. That is why you build an evidence board. Each day, record one action that brings you closer to your goals, one small victory you can measure, one step that strengthens identity. Micro actions fuel self-belief because they are tangible proof you are serious about your future. And here is the key. Your evidence board is not there to impress anyone. It is there to protect you from your own worst moments. It is there for the day you wake up and feel nothing. It is there for the day you doubt yourself and your mind starts rewriting history. You open the board and you see reality, you see work, you see consistency, you see momentum, you see why you are becoming harder to shake. Make it specific, write what you did, not what you intended to do, not what you thought about doing, what you actually did, one focused hour, one workout, one difficult conversation handled with control, one boundary set, one page written, one lesson learned, one small act of discipline when it would have been easier to scroll, delay, or quit. The evidence board trains your brain to associate your identity with action, not mood. That has become hard to shake in practice. Next, create a list of 25 reasons you must succeed. Not for anyone else, not to impress the world, for yourself. Each reason must resonate with identity, purpose, vision. Let it remind you why your future is non-negotiable. When doubt rises, that list becomes your anchor, and do not keep it vague. I want a better life is not enough when pressure hits. Write reasons with teeth, reasons that pull you forward when you are tired, reasons that remind you who depends on your discipline. Maybe it is freedom, maybe it is peace, maybe it is proving to yourself that you can do what you said you would do, maybe it is building a life where you do not feel trapped by your own hesitation. When you read those reasons, you are not trying to feel inspired. You are reminding yourself that quitting has a cost. Then visualize your future self daily. 2 minutes, not fantasy, rehearsal, see posture, hear voice, feel confidence. Imagine challenges overcome, visualize not only success but the discipline, courage, and decisions that create it. When you repeatedly show your mind this version, you train it to respond as if that identity is already yours. And do not visualize a perfect life, visualize a stronger you. Visualize the version of you that handles pressure without panic. Visualize the version of you that stays calm when criticized. Visualize the version of you that keeps showing up when progress is slow. Visualize become hard to shake as a trait you can feel in your spine. Here is the paradox. People believe after you succeed, but you must believe before anyone else does. Waiting for support is waiting for failure. Waiting for validation is surrendering agency. Waiting for motivation is giving your power away. The only power that matters is self-belief, consistent, daily, unwavering, unshakable. The world loves results, but you cannot reach results without identity. And identity is built in the dark, not in the spotlight. If you want to become hard to shake, you stop living like belief is optional. You make it a requirement. Cultivate that belief, you challenge internal narratives. When you hear, "I'm not ready," respond, "I am becoming ready." When you hear, "I'll never achieve this," respond, "I'm learning the way forward." When the past whispers failure, respond, "My future defines me now." Every internal debate is a battle for identity. Who wins those debates determines who you become, and in those debates you do not need fancy words, you need firmness. You need repeatable lines you can say when your mind is loud. You need a small set of responses that shut down self-sabotage quickly. That is emotional discipline. That is mental leadership. That is become hard to shake. Resistance is inevitable. The moment you decide to fight for your future, doubt, fear, and opposition show up. From others, but more importantly from yourself. The old self clings, comfort whispers, previous failures speak. And sometimes the resistance looks like fatigue, sometimes it looks like procrastination, sometimes it looks like a logical reason to delay, sometimes it looks like overthinking until the moment passes. You have two choices: surrender or rise. Surrender reinforces the weaker identity. Rising strengthens the one who can accomplish anything. Here is a principle that changes everything. Your future does not require your comfort, it requires your commitment. When comfort and commitment collide, the weaker version of you negotiates. The stronger version decides. The stronger version says, I do not need to feel ready to act. The stronger version says, I will do one thing today that moves me forward. The stronger version says, I will keep my standards even when I do not feel like it. This is how you become hard to shake, not through dramatic breakthroughs, but through quiet decisions that happen again and again. True self-belief is never loud, it does not need applause, it does not require recognition. It is quiet, unwavering, deliberate. It shows up in repeated decisions to act and move forward even when there is no visible progress. Daily rituals of self-belief matter more than the milestones you chase. When you repeatedly choose identity over feelings, consistency over mood, action over hesitation, your mind begins to trust you, and trust is everything. If your mind trusts you, it stops fighting you. If your mind trusts you, it stops bargaining. If your mind trusts you, it becomes an ally instead of an enemy. Self-trust becomes currency. Self-trust transforms effort into momentum. Self-trust elevates ordinary action into extraordinary growth. That has become hard to shake at the deepest level because no opinion can break a person who trusts their own discipline. Do not wait for someone else to light your path. You are your own torch. Fight for the future when it is inconvenient. Fight when uncomfortable. Fight when no one notices. Fight when everything inside you screams to stop. And be honest about what that fight looks like. Sometimes it is boring. Sometimes it is repetitive. Sometimes it is just you at a desk doing the work again. Sometimes it is you saying no to a distraction that used to control you. Sometimes it is you walking away from people who only liked the smaller version of you. The person who rises through that silent battle becomes unstoppable. The one who backs down becomes delayed, distracted, defeated. So make it practical. When you feel your motivation drop, do not demand a big comeback. Demand one disciplined action, one message sent, one page written, one workout started, one task completed, one boundary enforced. One step forward. Become hard to shake does not mean you never feel doubt. It means doubt no longer gets the final vote. Internalize this mantra. Be your own believer. Repeat it when you wake. Repeat it when you sleep. Repeat it when fear rises. Repeat it in isolation. Repeat it until actions embody it, until choices reflect it, until your mind cannot doubt it. And let this phrase return often calmly like a steady drumbeat. Become hard to shake. Become hard to shake when no one sees it. Become hard to shake when you are tired. Become hard to shake when you are misunderstood. Become hard to shake when the world is quiet. This is the difference between potential wasted and greatness realized. Chapter 4. Show up with the energy of the best. The strongest people do not wait to be perfect before they act. They show up like they belong in the room of winners. Most people enter spaces apologetically, shoulders rounded, head lowered, energy diminished. They shrink to avoid judgment, confrontation, attention. As a result, they are overlooked, underestimated, dismissed. If you want to become hard to shake, you cannot keep entering rooms like you are asking permission to exist. You enter as if your presence is allowed because it is. Presence speaks louder than words. The way you walk, breathe, carry your body broadcasts identity before you say anything. When you shrink, people sense it. When you hesitate, people sense it. When you are confident, steady, intentional, people follow without even knowing why. This is not magic. It is nervous system language. Humans read posture, rhythm, tone, eye contact, and micro movements instantly. Before you explain yourself, your body has already introduced you. Become hard to shake means your body stops telling the story of doubt. Showing up with the energy of the best is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is acting from the person you are becoming, not from the fears that controlled you. Confidence is cultivated through action, not granted by circumstances. And this matters because most people are waiting for the world to treat them like they matter before they treat themselves like they matter. They wait for permission from results, titles, followers, money, approval, but the order is reversed. You move first, you decide first. You embody first, then the world responds. That is the foundation of become hard to shake. Your body is your amplifier. Stand tall, open your chest, lift your chin, let posture speak strength. 2 minutes of intentional positioning signals your nervous system. You belong here. Your brain registers the expanded state and shifts from uncertainty to authority. This is not pretending, this is priming, internal conditioning that manifests outwardly. And you can do this anywhere, in the car before you walk in the hallway before you enter, in the bathroom mirror if you need to reset. 2 minutes that change your entire presence. 2 minutes that remind your mind it is not a victim. 2 minutes that rehearse the identity you are building. Become hard to shake starts with this kind of intentional reset. Now add breathing. Most people breathe shallow when they are nervous, and shallow breathing creates a nervous system that feels hunted. Slow your breath down, longer exhale. Let the exhale tell your body we are safe. Let calm become the baseline. This is how you walk into pressure without looking like pressure owns you. You are not trying to look impressive. You are trying to stay regulated. A regulated person is hard to manipulate, hard to intimidate, hard to shake. Then command initiative. Do not wait to be acknowledged. Say hello first, speak first, move first, offer value first. Leaders do not sit back waiting for permission. They set tone, define pace, control energy. When you consistently take initiative, the world adjusts to the standard you establish. Initiative is not always loud. Sometimes it is simply being the first to take responsibility. Sometimes it is asking one clear question when everyone else stays quiet. Sometimes it is offering a solution when others offer excuses. Initiative is a signal. It says, I am here on purpose. That is become hard to shake behavior. Energy is contagious. Surrounding yourself with negative or passive energy diminishes presence. Controlled, confident, focused energy uplifts you and those around you. Be mindful of what you bring into spaces. Presence is an extension of identity, and it shapes the environment before you speak. Walk in with steadiness, not chaos. Walk in with purpose, not apology. Walk in with clarity, not scattered attention. Even your pacing matters. Rushed movement communicates anxiety. Slow, deliberate movement communicates control. Control communicates confidence. Confidence communicates authority, and authority makes you hard to shake. Your voice is part of your energy. Speak deliberately, speak clearly, speak slowly. Words spoken with intention carry power even when content is simple. Hesitant or rushed speech undermines authority. Deliberate speech reinforces identity. People subconsciously respect clarity and certainty. And here is the trick. You do not need to talk more, you need to talk cleaner, fewer filler words, fewer apologies, more direct sentences, a calm tone, a steady pace. A short pause before you answer. Silence is not weakness. Silence can be dominance. A person who can pause without panic is a person who owns themselves. Become hard to shake is often heard in what you do not rush to say. Emotion is energy. Internal state reflects externally. Anxiety, doubt, insecurity show up as hesitation, fidgeting, lowered energy. Calm, confident, controlled states show up as steady movement, measured voice, poised presence. Regulate emotions, do not suppress them, channel them, turn nervous energy into focused energy, transform fear into preparedness. Here is a practical method. Name the feeling silently. I feel nervous, then label the intention. I will act anyway. Then choose the next micro-action. I will stand tall, I will breathe, I will speak slowly. You are not fighting the emotion, you are leading it. When you lead your state, you become hard to shake. Fear of judgment is a silent killer of energy. Most people hold back because they anticipate criticism. but people rarely scrutinize you as closely as you imagine. They are occupied with their own insecurities and performances. Your obligation is not to please them. Your obligation is to embody standards, identity, purpose. And if someone does judge you, let them. The goal is not to be liked by everyone. The goal is to be respected by your own standards. The goal is to be the type of person who does not fall apart because a stranger raised an eyebrow. Become hard to shake means external reactions no longer control internal stability. Authenticity amplifies energy. The energy of the best is consistent, not performative. It does not fluctuate with mood. It does not rely on validation. It exists independently of recognition. It becomes a baseline identity that radiates authority. The more consistent you are, the less the noise outside can influence the world inside. This is important because performative confidence collapses the moment something goes wrong. Real confidence stays steady when you mispronounce a word. When you get challenged, when you get interrupted, when you do not know the answer yet, real confidence says, "I can handle this." That has become hard to shake confidence. Daily rituals reinforce energy. Align posture, breathing, movement, attire, environment with who you intend to be. Stand like someone who commands rooms. Speak like someone who demands attention without asking for it. Move like someone capable, in control, unshakable. Think about your entry routine. Before you enter any demanding space, you do three things. You reset posture, you slow the breath, you decide the intention, then you walk in, not to prove yourself, not to win approval. And to execute. Presence reflects identity. When you embody this energy, the world responds, doors open, people listen, opportunities align, not because you demand it, but because you consistently project the version of yourself that deserves it. Presence becomes a declaration of standards, discipline, vision. And sometimes the world does not respond immediately. Sometimes people test you. Sometimes they doubt you. That is where this becomes real training. You do not shrink because someone is skeptical. You do not collapse because someone is cold. You stay steady, you stay kind, you stay clear, you become hard to shake. Your internal dialogue must match outward energy. Think like someone who belongs. Speak to yourself like someone already capable. Reinforce it with a mantra. Act as if I am the best until being the best becomes natural. Every movement, word, thought reinforces identity. And when you catch yourself slipping into apology, into shrinking, into over-explaining, you correct it calmly. You do not beat yourself up. You just return to the standard. That return is the skill. That return is the practice. That return is become hard to shake. When internal and external states align, presence cannot be ignored. You influence without effort. You lead without entitlement. You command respect without aggression. This is a daily practice, not a one-time performance. Your presence is your power. Protect it, cultivate it, wield it consistently. And remember the anchor, become hard to shake, is not something you hope for. It is something you practice every time you enter a room. Chapter 5. Cut what weakens your confidence. You cannot become the best version of yourself while holding on to what drags you down. Confidence is built as much by subtraction as by addition. Most people think growth means adding habits, reading more, working harder. Real transformation begins with removal, cutting the people, routines, and thoughts that drain energy. Holding toxic influences while trying to rise is like planting seeds in contaminated soil. Nothing thrives. You cannot grow strong roots in weak ground. Everything you tolerate shapes the version of you that survives. If you want to become hard to shake, you have to become ruthless about what you allow near your identity. This chapter is about one simple truth. Your confidence is not only built by what you do, it is also built by what you refuse, what you stop, what you remove, what you no longer entertain, because confidence is fragile when your mind is constantly under attack. And for most people, that attack is not dramatic, it is subtle, it is daily. It is 1,000 tiny cuts, a negative voice, a draining conversation, a scrolling habit, a broken promise, a cluttered environment. A relationship that feeds doubt. You do not become hard to shake by stacking more pressure onto a weak foundation. You become hard to shake by cleaning the foundation first. Start with internal dialogue. What do you say to yourself when no one is listening? Do you criticize more than you encourage? Do you replay old failures and let them define potential? Every self-attack erodes confidence. Every repeated negative thought strengthens weakness. Your inner voice either builds identity or dismantles it, and it does not negotiate. And here is what most people miss: your inner voice is training. Every sentence you repeat to yourself is a rehearsal for how you will show up under pressure. If the voice is cruel, you collapse faster. If the voice is disciplined, you recover faster. Become hard to shake begins with a voice that does not betray you. Clear mental clutter. List the negative thoughts that replay like broken records. Challenge them, replace them with truths. If your mind believes you are small, you act small. If your mind believes you are strong, you act strong. Make the list specific, not general. Write the exact phrases your mind uses. I always mess this up. I'm not the type of person who succeeds. I'm behind. I don't have what it takes. Other people have it easier. Then challenge them with reality. What evidence supports this? What evidence contradicts it? What is the more accurate statement? You are not trying to be positive. You are trying to be honest. Honesty is stabilizing. Honesty is grounding. Honesty makes you become hard to shake because it removes the drama from your mind. Now build replacement statements that are usable under stress, not long speeches, short lines. I can do hard things. I learn fast. I recover quickly. I do not quit. I keep my promises. These are identity commands. Your brain responds to repetition. The more you rehearse your stronger identity, the more it becomes automatic. Evaluate the people around you. Not everyone who claims to care helps you grow. Some are negative by habit. Some project fears onto you. Some thrive on your doubts. The moment you level up, these relationships challenge your progress. Negative energy spreads fast. Limit access to those who drain you. This does not mean discarding everyone. It means protecting identity, setting boundaries, choosing who can influence emotions, who can advise you, who can witness growth. You do not owe anyone your peace. If you want to become hard to shake, you stop letting emotionally unstable people rewrite your day. This is where many people hesitate. They think boundaries are rude. They think distance is cruel, but the truth is simpler. Boundaries are clarity. Distance is strategy. Some people are not evil. They are just incompatible with your future. They speak the language of excuses while you are learning the language of standards. They normalize complaining while you are building discipline. They pull you back to old versions of yourself because the new version makes them uncomfortable. Protecting your identity is not selfish. It is responsible, and responsibility is part of become hard to shake. Address habits that erode confidence. The small daily choices define identity more than big moments. Checking your phone first thing in the morning, delaying commitments, breaking promises to yourself. Each compromise chips away at self-trust. Each time you lower standards, you remove a brick from your foundation. Self-trust is built the same way a reputation is built, one consistent action at a time, and it is destroyed the same way, one broken promise at a time. Look for the habits that seem harmless but cost you identity. Doom scrolling when you are tired, snacking when you are stressed, saying yes when you mean no, avoiding the difficult conversation, postponing the workout, skipping the planning, staying up late for no reason. Every time you choose short-term comfort, you teach your mind that comfort is the leader. And if comfort is the leader, you will never become hard to shake. Run a 7-day audit, create a kill list. Habits, patterns, routines that drain energy or reinforce self-doubt. Create a keep list. Actions, routines, rituals that empower and build identity. Then implement a rule. Anything that drains energy gets removed immediately, non-negotiable. Make the audit practical. Each evening write 3 things. What strengthened me today? What weakened me today? What one change will I make tomorrow? After 7 days, you will see patterns you could not see while living on autopilot. Awareness gives you leverage. Leverage gives you choice. Choice is how you become hard to shake. Your environment shapes who you become: physical space, digital content, social interactions. A cluttered space fosters a cluttered mind. Social media that triggers comparison or anxiety erodes confidence. People who focus on negativity shape perception before you notice. Protecting environment is protecting future. If you walk into chaos every day, your nervous system stays chaotic. If you live inside noise, your mind becomes noise. Clean space creates clean focus. Start with one small environment reset. Clear a desk, clean your car, delete apps that steal your attention. Unfollow accounts that trigger comparison. Turn off notifications that train reactivity. Create one place where your mind feels calm, focused, in control. You do not need a perfect life. You need a controlled environment. Controlled environments create controlled minds. Controlled minds become hard to shake. Self-criticism is a subtle but critical element. Many believe harsh self-talk motivates improvement. It does not. It teaches your mind to associate effort with punishment. Replace criticism with constructive dialogue. Speak to yourself as you would speak to someone you mentor. Treat identity with respect. This does not mean you are soft on yourself. It means you are smart with yourself. There is a difference between accountability and abuse. Accountability says we missed the standard. Here is the correction. Abuse says we missed the standard because we are worthless. Abuse destroys performance. Accountability improves it. And improvement is how you become hard to shake. Here is a quick filter. After you make a mistake, ask, would I say this to someone I care about who is trying? If the answer is no, do not say it to yourself. Replace it with a corrective statement. Next time I will do X. I will prepare earlier. I will remove this distraction. I will practice this skill. That is leadership. That is the tone of someone who is building themselves, not breaking themselves. Cutting what weakens you is not comfortable. Old identities resist. Excuses arise. Doubt tempts you to return to familiar. That is why courage is essential. Courage lets you choose who you are becoming over who you used to be. Every cut is a declaration. I will not compromise my future for comfort. And the first few cuts might feel lonely. They might feel strange. You might miss old routines even when they were hurting you. That is normal. Growth always feels like loss before it feels like freedom. But once the drain is gone, energy returns. Once the noise is gone, clarity returns. Once the toxic inputs are gone, confidence stops leaking. And that is when you start to become hard to shake in a way you can feel every day. When you remove what drains you, you create space for growth, energy, opportunity. Confidence becomes less fragile. Decisions align with standards. Presence becomes noticeable. Identity begins to radiate strength. You do not need to win every day. You just need to stop losing to the same things every day. Understand the rhythm of growth. Add deliberately, subtract ruthlessly. Your actions, people, habits, thoughts must support the identity you build. The strongest people prune constantly. They do not negotiate with energy drains. They remove, protect, cultivate. They treat confidence like a resource that must be guarded. And when confidence is free from erosion and environment supports ambition and mind speaks the language of power, you step into ownership. You stop being fragile. You stop being reactive. You stop being easily moved by other people's moods, opinions, and noise. You become hard to shake. In Chapter 6, Own Your Life, No Excuses. Your life will not change until you decide to take full ownership. Not partially, not occasionally, fully. Excuses are seductive. They feel safe. They protect ego. They justify inaction. But every excuse secretly erodes identity. It convinces your mind the world is in control, not you. A life run by excuses is a life of stagnation. If you want to become hard to shake, you cannot keep outsourcing your life to circumstances, moods, timing, or other people. Ownership is the moment you stop waiting and start lighting. Excuses are silent killers of potential. Most people blame circumstances. They wait for perfect timing. They rely on motivation instead of discipline. They let setbacks define their story. But no one owes you progress. No circumstance guarantees growth. Ownership begins where excuses end. Every action must reinforce who you are becoming. Every choice must reflect standards you want to hold. Every decision must declare intent, not convenience. Ownership is not a feeling. It is a daily discipline. Identity rises in responsibility. And the more responsibility you take, the more unshakable you become. Become hard to shake is built on this. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Excuses do not just delay results, they reshape identity. Every excuse you accept teaches your mind a lesson. It teaches your mind that you are someone who negotiates with standards, someone who backs away when it gets hard, someone who waits for conditions to improve before taking action. Over time, that lesson becomes your personality, and then you wonder why confidence feels fragile. Confidence is fragile when identity is inconsistent. Become hard to shake requires consistency in the one place most people avoid: accountability. Begin with brutal honesty. Where have I made excuses? Where have I surrendered my power? Where have I blamed circumstances instead of acting, not to shame yourself, but to reclaim misdirected energy? Without honest reflection, ownership stays theoretical. Responsibility precedes freedom, and honesty has a very specific purpose here. It turns vague self-disappointment into clear strategy. It turns "I'm stuck" into "I keep doing this one pattern." It turns "life is hard" into "I avoid action when I feel pressure." That clarity gives you leverage. Leverage is what makes you become hard to shake. Look at the common excuses and translate them into truth. "I don't have time" often means I don't protect priorities. "I'm not ready" often means I'm afraid of being judged. "I'll start tomorrow" often means I want comfort more than growth. The goal is not to insult yourself. The goal is to remove illusions. You cannot correct what you refuse to name. Now replace excuses with concrete actions. Use daily ownership sheets. Each day list decisions you made, actions you completed, mistakes you encountered, lessons learned. This forces accountability and bridges the gap between intention and identity. Practiced consistently, it rewires your mind to accept no external blame and keep it simple. What did I commit to today? What did I complete today? What did I avoid today? Why did I avoid it? What is the correction for tomorrow? This does two powerful things. First, it shows you patterns. Second, it teaches your brain that you do not run from truth. When your mind learns you can face reality without collapsing, your confidence grows. You become hard to shake because you stop being afraid of your own reflection. Small progress compounds into unstoppable momentum. Use the 1% improvement rule. Every day, no matter how small, choose one action that aligns with standards. Small, consistent steps reshape habits, reinforce discipline, solidify identity. Motivation fades, excuses arise, ownership creates irreversible growth. The 1% rule is not about tiny goals, it is about daily proof. Proof that you move even when you do not feel like it. Proof that your identity is stronger than your emotions. Proof that you do not need a perfect day to make progress. Most people sabotage themselves by thinking only big actions matter. They wait for the real start. But real starts are built by small, consistent proof. One page written, one call made, one workout started, one boundary enforced, one task finished, 1 hour of focus protected. The daily action is the vote you cast for your future identity. The more votes you cast, the more stable that identity becomes. That stability is become hard to shake. Ownership transforms obstacles into strategy. Life tests resolve external pressures, internal fears, unplanned events. The difference between growth and stagnation is the willingness to respond with accountability instead of resentment. Every setback is an opportunity to assert control, not relinquish it. And the first step is to stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Replace it with, "What is my move?" That one question turns you from victim to operator, from reactive to strategic, from fragile to stable, from easy to shake to hard to shake. When something goes wrong, run the ownership protocol. What part of this do I control? What part of this do I not control? What is the next best action I can take within my control? Then take it. Do not wait to feel motivated. Do not wait to feel calm. Take the action that aligns with your standards. Standards are the steering wheel. Feelings are weather. You do not hand the steering wheel to the weather. Become hard to shake means you keep control of direction regardless of conditions. Emotional responsibility matters. Feelings do not dictate actions, identity does. When criticism or pressure arises, do not react impulsively. Act with intention, respond with strength. Leaders do not wait for the right conditions. They create conditions. They define standards. They initiate action. Excuses are irrelevant. Accountability is non-negotiable. This is where many people fail quietly. They let emotions become permission slips. I feel stressed, so I will avoid it. I feel tired, so I will quit early. I feel insecure, so I will stay silent. Emotional responsibility does not mean you deny those feelings. It means you do not let them run the day. You can feel stress and still act. You can feel tired and still do the next step. You can feel insecure and still speak clearly. That is what it means to become hard to shake. Your emotions can be present without being in charge. Ownership is the foundation of resilience. You will face failures, delays, frustration. Ownership does not eliminate obstacles, it gives you a framework to navigate them. You learn, adapt, continue instead of surrendering. You rise even when circumstances are unfavorable. Ownership eliminates victimhood. The victim mindset blames external forces for outcomes. It disempowers, stagnates, confines. You cannot be the hero of your story while acting like a victim. Ownership is choosing the hero every day. And being the hero is not dramatic, it is often quiet. It is getting back on track after you slip. It is making the hard call. It is admitting you were wrong. It is fixing what you broke. It is showing up again after a setback. Victimhood makes you fragile because it ties your identity to things you cannot control. Ownership makes you strong because it ties your identity to the one thing you can always control: your choices, your response, your discipline. Become hard to shake is built by choosing that response again and again. Reinforce it with affirmations that make you the architect. I am responsible for my choices. I am accountable for my outcomes. I lead my life. These words shift perception. They replace excuses with intentionality. They transform passive observation into active creation. But do not just repeat them. Prove them. Every day, do one action that supports each sentence. If you say you lead your life, lead it in the smallest way today. Decide your first hour instead of letting your phone decide it. Choose your task instead of letting distractions choose it. Keep your promise to yourself instead of making a new promise you will also break. Build habits, decisions, actions that reflect ownership constantly until accountability becomes instinct. The measure of ownership is consistency, not intensity. And that is the final key. You do not need a heroic week. You need a heroic baseline, a normal day where you do what you said you would do. A normal day where you do not negotiate with excuses. A normal day where you follow your standards even when nobody is watching. That is how you become hard to shake. Chapter 7: Push when you want to quit. The moment you feel like quitting is the exact moment your future is being decided. The difference between those who rise and those who falter is the choice to continue when everything inside screams to stop. Most people give up when the climb gets steep, when results are invisible, when effort feels heavy. They abandon identity at the first sign of discomfort. If you want to become hard to shake, this is the chapter that turns it from an idea into a reflex. Because being hard to shake is not proven on easy days. It is proven right here when quitting feels reasonable. The strongest people understand this. The moments when your mind whispers, "Stop, this is too hard," are the moments that define your trajectory. This is where character is forged and identity is strengthened. Quitting is not a reaction to difficulty, it is a choice. When the world is quiet, when no one is watching, when your energy wanes, your mind tries to convince you quitting is acceptable. It will say you have done enough. It will say tomorrow will be easier. It will say it does not matter. It will say no one will notice. Each statement is a trap designed to reinforce the weaker version of you, the one that retreats in discomfort and compromises identity for comfort. Become hard to shake means you recognize those lines as tactics, not truth. Here is what makes quitting dangerous. It does not just stop the work. It rewrites the story you tell yourself about who you are. One quit becomes a reference point. Your mind files it away. When it gets hard, we stop. And then the next time resistance appears, your brain pulls out that file and suggests the same exit. This is how people slowly become fragile, not because they are incapable, but because they keep training themselves to escape discomfort. If you want to become hard to shake, you train the opposite. You train staying. Here is the paradox. What you are most tempted to avoid is exactly what makes you stronger. Strength is not born from convenience. Motivation will not carry you across hard terrain. Talent alone will not push you past invisible barriers. What carries you is discipline. What carries you is identity. What carries you is the decision to act even when uncomfortable. You do not need to feel powerful to act powerfully. You need to move while you feel weak. That movement is the rep that builds identity. That is become hard to shake. Every time you push despite fear, doubt, exhaustion, you strengthen self-belief. Every time you give in, you reinforce weakness. And it is not just in the gym, it is in the email you do not want to send. It is in the conversation you keep avoiding. It is in the project that feels too slow. It is in the morning you want to sleep through. It is in the commitment you made to yourself when you were inspired, but now you are tired. The battlefield is ordinary. The victory is personal. Become hard to shake is built in these small moments that nobody applauds. Use the one more rule. When your mind begs for relief, commit to one more minute, one more rep, one more page, one more call, one more step, one more effort. These increments are simple, but their cumulative impact transforms identity. They teach your brain you are reliable, disciplined, unstoppable. And the power of one more is that it makes the challenge smaller than your fear. It takes a mountain and turns it into a step. You are not promising 5 years of perfection. You are promising one more. Become hard to shake is often one more breath, one more sentence, one more honest attempt. Most people underestimate one more. It is not the volume of effort that defines champions. It is consistency in the moments of resistance. Every challenge is an opportunity to decide who you are. Will discomfort dictate identity, or will identity dictate actions? Those who rise choose identity. They internalize a principle stronger than motivation. Loyalty to the future outweighs attachment to present comfort. The strongest rise before they feel ready, and they do it without drama. They do it quietly. They do it like it is normal. That is how you become hard to shake. Your body will tire, your mind will doubt, your emotions will scream. These are not reasons to stop. These are signals you are growing beyond previous limits. Resistance is the proving ground of character. Discomfort measures capacity expanding. Every step you take in defiance of quitting rewires your nervous system and forges resilience that lasts longer than temporary ease. This is important. Your nervous system learns from what you repeatedly survive. If you always escape discomfort, your system becomes sensitive and reactive. If you repeatedly stay calm inside discomfort, your system becomes steady. Steady is hard to shake. Discomfort is the currency of identity. Harness it with structured challenges that train commitment. Identify a gatekeeper moment each day, the action your weaker self resists most. Confront it deliberately, push past initial resistance. Reward yourself for completing it, not with indulgence, but with acknowledgement of discipline. These moments compound, layering strength, confidence, self-trust, and do not wait for the perfect gatekeeper moment. It can be simple. The first 5 minutes of work. The first 10 minutes of exercise, the first phone call, the first paragraph, the first clean decision. You will feel resistance at the beginning. That is normal. Your job is to cross the threshold. Become hard to shake is often just crossing the threshold. People who quit allow temporary emotions to dictate behavior. People who rise allow principles to dictate theirs. Quitting is seductive because it promises relief, comfort, familiarity, protection from the unknown. But comfort is a cage. It protects current identity while stunting the one you could become. Every time you surrender, you choose the security of mediocrity over the uncertainty of growth. Every time you push, you choose expansion over stagnation. Your future self will thank you for every choice to continue. And your present self will start respecting you for it too. Respect follows follow-through. Follow-through is the backbone of become hard to shake. The psychology of persistence is simple. Your mind prefers the path of least resistance. Evolution designed you to conserve energy, but the strongest identities are built by overriding default instincts in favor of deliberate choice. To be great, train your brain to act despite fear, fatigue, uncertainty. Create a pattern where resistance becomes the signal to act, not the signal to retreat. Reframe resistance. When you feel it, do not say, "This is a sign to stop." Say, "This is the sign I am at the edge of growth." That sentence alone changes your behavior. That sentence trains you to become hard to shake. And here is another practical tool. Reduce decisions when you are tired. When you are exhausted, you do not need complex plans, you need simple rules. I start even if I do not finish. I do 10 minutes no matter what. I do the first step only. These rules remove negotiation. Negotiation is where quitting wins. Simple rules protect identity when your emotions are loud. Become hard to shake is built by removing negotiation. Visualization amplifies persistence. Picture the stronger version of you waiting at the top of the climb. See the rewards, see the impact, see the identity you are creating through persistence. Every push, rep, effort aligns you with that future self. Identity becomes tangible and quitting loses appeal, but make the visualization real. See yourself tired and still acting. See yourself discouraged and still showing up. See yourself criticized and still calm. That is the version worth rehearsing. Become hard to shake is not only a destination, it is a way of responding. Remember this, the battle is not with the outside world. It is within you. Every excuse, hesitation, thought of giving up is the echo of a former self. Your current self confronts and surpasses these echoes daily. One day you will look back and realize the moments you thought you could not continue were the moments that defined your destiny. Energy, attention, intention converge here. Choose effort when the body resists. Choose clarity when the mind wavers. Choose purpose when emotion clouds judgment. Consistency under pressure is mastery. Loyalty to your future outweighs loyalty to your comfort, and loyalty to your future is exactly how you become hard to shake. Success is not built on fleeting inspiration. Success is built on repeated decisions to show up, act, and continue. These are the bricks that form a resilient identity. Motivation comes and goes, but identity persists. Discipline persists. Choice persists. On the days you feel like quitting, speak to yourself with authority. I will not quit on me. I will rise again and again. Make it your mantra. Let it echo during fatigue. Let it guide you through frustration. Let it carry you past fear. And add the anchor phrase calmly, like a steady drum beat. Become hard to shake. Become hard to shake when the work feels pointless. Become hard to shake when the body is tired. Become hard to shake when the mind is loud. The strongest version of you emerges in these moments. Quiet, unshakable, relentless. Chapter 8. Trust the process when results are invisible. The results you want will not appear instantly, but the identity you are building will. This is the hardest part of growth, the invisible season, the season where you do everything right and nothing seems to change, the season where effort is high and progress feels non-existent, the season where you question if you are wasting time. If you want to become hard to shake, this is the season you must learn to respect, because this is where most people disappear. This moment breaks most people not because they cannot grow, but because they cannot wait. People do not quit because it is hard, they quit because they cannot see progress soon enough. They want the reward before the structure exists. They want confidence before the habit exists. They want proof before the work has had time to compound. But you must anchor into identity. The most powerful changes happen long before the world can see them. Roots grow before the tree rises. Foundations form before the building stands. Character develops before success arrives. You are growing even when results are silent. Become hard to shake means you do not demand applause as evidence you are improving. You use your standards as evidence. The human mind craves evidence, proof, reassurance, quick feedback. That craving is normal, but it is also dangerous because it turns you into someone who only performs when rewarded. Greatness does not grow on your timeline. It grows on discipline. It grows on habits. It grows on standards. It grows on consistency. You do not become strong because life compliments you. You become strong because you kept showing up when life said nothing. That has become hard to shake. Trusting the process means understanding delayed results. It means accepting that progress compounds invisibly. It means knowing that discipline produces invisible change before external recognition appears. What is unseen is shaping your life more profoundly than what is visible. One week of consistent action can feel inconsequential, but compounded over months, it creates unshakable foundations. Most people quit in week 2 because they cannot feel the foundation forming. The foundation does not announce itself, it just holds you later. Think of skill, think of fitness, think of leadership, think of a business, think of a reputation. In the early stages, the work is heavy and the feedback is light. In the later stages, the work looks easier because the foundation is doing the lifting. The invisible season is where you pay the cost in advance. The visible season is where the world finally notices what you quietly built. Become hard to shake means you accept the early cost without complaining because you understand the later payoff is real. Trust is a discipline, not an emotion. There will be days doubt floods in, days you question your path, days the old identity whispers, "This isn't working." Those days are not signs to stop. Those days are signs to continue. They are signs you are becoming someone no longer dependent on instant reward. Delayed rewards create powerful people. Instant rewards create fragile ones. If you only work when it feels good, you will break when it feels slow. But if you can work when it feels slow, you become hard to shake. Here is a simple mental shift. Stop asking, "Is this working yet?" Start asking, "Is this aligning me with who I want to be?" Because alignment is always working, even when outcomes are quiet. Every day you keep your standards, you strengthen identity. Every day you honor the plan, you reinforce trust. Every day you do the work without results, you build a mind that cannot be manipulated by silence. That is become hard to shake. Trusting the process also means honoring the boring parts. Repetition is not punishment. Repetition is mastery. Repetition rewires the mind. Repetition grows confidence. Repetition solidifies identity. The best performers do not avoid repetition. They embrace it. They understand consistency beats intensity. They understand small progress becomes big progress over time. They understand the person who shows up every day outperforms the person who shows up only when motivated. Most people want novelty. They want new tricks, new plans, new hacks, new motivation. But novelty is often just avoidance wearing a smarter outfit. Repetition is where the real growth lives. Repetition is where your nervous system learns calm. Repetition is where your mind stops bargaining. Repetition is where your standards become automatic. You do not become hard to shake by constantly changing the plan. You become hard to shake by staying with the plan long enough for the plan to change you. Your future is built by days that feel ordinary. The invisible season also demands emotional neutrality. Not every day will feel exciting. Not every day will feel triumphant. Some days will feel pointless. Some days will feel heavy. Some days will feel like walking in circles. But you are not walking in circles. You are walking in cycles. Cycles of improvement. Cycles of identity strengthening. Cycles that slowly move you upward even when the path feels flat. Success is almost always uphill, but you do not climb in leaps. You climb in steps. And many of those steps will be quiet. The quiet step is the one nobody celebrates. The quiet step is the one you take when you are tired. The quiet step is the one you take when no one messages you back, when no one notices, when the numbers do not move. Quiet steps build loud outcomes later. If you can keep taking quiet steps, you become hard to shake because you stop relying on external noise to validate internal progress. Reduce your timeline. When your timeline is too fast, everything feels like failure. When your timeline expands, everything becomes progress. Patience is not passive. Patience is deliberate, active faith in the system of your identity. Invisible effort is the scaffolding of visible success. Give your process room to work. Give your habits time to compound. Give your standards time to become identity. You do not judge a foundation by how it looks on day 3. You judge it by what it holds years later. Become hard to shake means you value long-term stability over short-term excitement. Implement daily metrics for alignment, focus, discipline, attitude. Do not measure progress solely by outcomes, applause, or validation. Measure consistency of action. Measure adherence to standards. Reward yourself for integrity of action, not for visible wins. This trains your nervous system to respond to identity, not emotion, so your habits stay aligned even when circumstances are challenging. Make those metrics simple. Did I protect my first hour? Did I do the one thing I promised myself? Did I stay calm under pressure? Did I return to the plan after distraction? Did I act like the person I'm becoming? Because when you track alignment, you stop feeling helpless in the invisible season. You stop needing constant proof. You become your own proof. And that is the deepest meaning of become hard to shake. One day, results will show up and people will call it luck. They will say you changed quickly. They will say it happened overnight. You will know the truth. It happened in the invisible season. It happened in the quiet cycles. It happened in the boring repetitions. It happened on the days you kept going while nothing moved. That is how you earn the right to the visible season. Chapter 9. Lock into your vision. A strong identity is not built by drifting. It is built by vision and commitment. Most people lose progress not because they are incapable, but because they are uncommitted. They are distracted. They negotiate with comfort. They let moods decide their direction. If you want to become hard to shake, you cannot live like a feather in the wind. You need a direction that holds you steady when motivation drops and life gets loud. Drifting feels harmless because it looks like freedom. No strict rules, no pressure, no deadlines, no discomfort, but drifting has a cost. Drift steals years quietly. Drift creates a life that looks busy but goes nowhere. Drift turns potential into regret. And the worst part is you do not notice it day to day. You only notice it when you look back and realize you have been reacting instead of building. Become hard to shake means you stop reacting and start aiming. Locking into your vision means your future becomes a non-negotiable standard. It means you stop treating your goals like preferences and start treating them like promises. Your vision is not a wish. It is a contract with the person you are becoming. A contract has terms, it has standards, it has responsibilities, it has actions attached. When you sign that contract, you stop asking, "What do I feel like today?" And you start asking, "What does my vision demand today?" That is the shift. That is how you become hard to shake. Make it practical, write your vision clearly, not vaguely, not someday. Define what you are building, define who you are becoming, define what your standards look like in daily behavior, then review it daily, not to fantasize, to rehearse, to remind your nervous system what it is moving toward. And write it like you mean it, write it in language that is specific enough to guide decisions, not "I want to be successful." Write what success looks like in behavior. Write what kind of person you are, what you do in the morning, how you manage your time, what you refuse, how you speak, how you handle pressure, how you treat your body, how you handle money, how you handle relationships. Identity is not a slogan. Identity is a schedule. Identity is a pattern. Become hard to shake means your pattern is built on purpose, not randomness. Then review the vision daily in a short ritual. 2 minutes, you read it once. You picture yourself acting it out in real situations. You picture yourself choosing discipline when you are tired, choosing calm when criticized, choosing focus when distracted, choosing standards when tempted. That rehearsal matters because your brain performs what it rehearses. If you rehearse drifting, you drift. If you rehearse direction, you move. Become hard to shake means you rehearse the person you intend to be until it becomes natural. Your vision must govern your attention. If you let random input define your mind will produce random output in your life. If you let distractions run your day, distractions will run your future. Locking into your vision means you protect your mind the way a builder protects a foundation. Attention is the steering wheel. The moment you lose your attention, you lose direction. This is why you create rules for your attention, not to become rigid but to become stable. Set time blocks where you are unreachable, turn off notifications. Remove apps that train reactivity. Stop feeding your mind content that makes you anxious or small. Every day, choose a few hours where your attention belongs to your vision, not to the internet, not to other people's moods, not to random noise. Become hard to shake means you own your attention like you own your life. Make decisions that match your future. Choose environments that support your direction. Choose inputs that elevate your standards. Choose relationships that respect your growth. Choose habits that make your identity stronger, not weaker. And here is the part that separates dreamers from builders. You decide before the temptation shows up. You pre-decide, you set standards in advance. If you wait until you are tired, you will choose comfort. If you wait until you are stressed, you will choose distraction. If you wait until you are lonely, you will choose the wrong company. If you want to become hard to shake, you build systems that protect you when you are weak. Systems are not cold, systems are care. They keep you aligned when emotions fluctuate. Let your calendar reflect your vision. Let your spending reflect your vision. Let your conversations reflect your vision. Let your sleep reflect your vision. Vision is not something you keep in your head. Vision is something you install into your day. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. You do not need to feel ready. You need to act aligned. You do not need constant motivation. You need loyalty to your vision. This is where identity becomes stable. This is where your presence becomes predictable. This is where your life stops being reactive and becomes deliberate. Consistency is what makes a person trustworthy, even to themselves. When you act aligned repeatedly, your mind starts to trust you. And when your mind trusts you, doubt has less power. You stop feeling like a different person every day. You stop waking up guessing who you will be today. You become reliable. Reliable people become powerful because they can build momentum. Momentum is what makes you become hard to shake. When you lock into vision, you stop asking for permission to be who you are. You stop bargaining with doubt. You stop explaining your discipline to people who do not value it. You start living by standards that do not change based on mood. You become the person who shows up, executes, and stays the course. And staying the course does not mean you never adjust. It means you adjust without abandoning. You refine the plan, but you keep the direction. You learn, but you do not drift. You pivot when necessary, but you do not spiral. That is maturity. That is leadership. That is become hard to shake. So keep the vision close. Read it when you wake. Read it when you hesitate. Read it when you are tempted. Read it when you are tired. Because vision is the anchor that keeps you steady when life tries to pull you off course. And when your vision is steady, you become steady. Chapter 10: Rise again every time you fall. Falling is inevitable. Staying down is a choice. Your future is defined not by failures, but by your response to them. Every person striving for greatness will face moments of collapse mentally, emotionally, even physically. There will be days when nothing works, when mistakes feel monumental, when the world appears stacked against you. Every failure, disappointment, misstep is inevitable on a path that demands growth. If you want to become hard to shake, you cannot build an identity that depends on everything going smoothly. You build an identity that survives impact. Most people fear failure because they think it says something final about them. They interpret a fall as a verdict. This proves I am not good enough. This proves I am behind. This proves I do not have what it takes. But a fall is not a verdict. It is information. It is feedback. It is part of the process. The only thing that makes failure permanent is refusing to rise. Become hard to shake means you stop treating setbacks like identity and start treating them like training. The strongest people know the secret. The fall is not the end. The end occurs only when you refuse to rise again. Resilience is not a trait you are born with, it is cultivated. Many believe strength is the absence of failure. They envy the person who seems unshakable, unbroken, untouchable. The reality is different. The strongest people are not those who never stumble. They are the ones who rise repeatedly without hesitation, without excuses, without apology. And they rise without making it dramatic. They do not need a perfect speech. They do not need a perfect mood. They just return to the standard. They return to the next step. They return to the plan. They return to the work. That return is the skill. That return is the habit. That return is what makes you become hard to shake. The fall becomes a catalyst rather than a cage. Falling is feedback. Rising is the discipline of champions. When you fall, internal dialogue matters. Many allow self-criticism, shame, regret to fester. I'm not good enough. I failed again. I should have done better. These thoughts are traps that keep people down. The strongest recognize those voices as noise, not truth. They separate facts from interpretation. They acknowledge failure without surrendering identity. They confront mistakes, learn the lesson, and continue. Every fall carries information. Your job is to extract the lesson, not dwell on the pain. Here is the difference between a fragile person and a strong one. The fragile person makes failure personal. The strong person makes failure practical. The fragile person says, I am a failure. The strong person says, that attempt failed. What is the adjustment? This is not cold. It is mature. It is leadership. It is the mindset that makes you become hard to shake because it keeps your identity stable while you correct your strategy. Use a practical framework, the 24-hour reset protocol: debrief, rest, reset, return. Debrief: analyze the failure objectively. What happened? What triggered it? Where could you have acted differently? Record insights without emotional judgment. Rest: let body and mind recover. Fatigue and stress cloud judgment. Controlled rest restores perspective. Reset: release emotional baggage. Guilt, regret, shame do not improve performance. Return: re-enter the path with the lesson integrated, not with identity damaged. Now expand what this really looks like. Debrief means you tell the truth without attacking yourself. You write it down, you name the sequence. I was tired, I avoided the task, I distracted myself, I missed the deadline, I panicked, I made it worse. That is not shame, that is clarity. Then you ask the real question: what will I do differently next time? One change, one adjustment, one correction that makes the next version of you stronger. Rest is not escape. Rest is strategic recovery. There is a difference between rest and retreat. Rest restores your ability to act. Retreat avoids responsibility. Become hard to shake means you rest when needed, then you return. Reset means you drop the extra suffering. Many people feel pain and then add shame. They feel disappointment and then add self-hate. They feel regret and then add hopelessness. That extra suffering does not teach you, it only drains you. Reset is releasing the emotional baggage so you can carry the lesson cleanly. You can be accountable without being cruel. Return means you do not wait until you feel confident. You return while you are still uncomfortable. You return while you still feel embarrassed. You return while the doubt is still in the room. This is the moment resilience becomes real. Become hard to shake means the return is automatic. You fall, you learn, you stand up, you move. Consider historical examples: people who endured repeated failure before monumental success. Entrepreneurs who faced bankruptcy before innovation. Athletes who suffered career-threatening injuries before championship performance. Inventors who experienced countless rejections before breakthroughs. What they share is not talent alone. It is repeated commitment to rising after each fall. The pattern is clear: rise again and again until identity overrides failure. And notice the common thread. They did not avoid pain, they trained through it. They did not demand a perfect path, they demanded a consistent response. Their identity was not "I never lose." Their identity was "I always return." That identity is unbreakable. That identity is become hard to shake. Make it practical in daily life. Adopt routines that reinforce rising. Set micro goals for recovery after setbacks. Schedule reflection and planning sessions. Reinforce internal dialogue that emphasizes progress over perfection. Maintain physical routines that energize rather than drain. Surround yourself with people who elevate and do not diminish resolve. Each practice compounds resilience, trains your nervous system, reinforces identity, and makes your response to future failures increasingly automatic. Make the micro goals simple. After a setback, do one corrective action within 60 minutes. Send the message you avoided, clean the workspace, open the document, walk for 10 minutes, drink water, write the next step. This is not about solving everything instantly. It is about teaching your brain a new rule. We do not stay down. The faster you take one corrective action, the less time your mind has to build a story that keeps you stuck. Become hard to shake is often one small action taken quickly after a fall. Also build a return ritual, a short routine you use every time you slip. It can be 3 breaths, 1 page of journaling, 1 review of your vision, 1 small task completed. The ritual becomes your bridge back to identity. It becomes your signal to yourself that the fall is over. The lesson stays, the shame goes, the work continues. You have traveled through these chapters of transformation and the lessons are clear. Identity comes first. Action follows. Consistency is your true power, building strength, silencing noise, believing in yourself, showing up with energy, cutting what weakens you, owning your life, pushing past resistance, trusting invisible progress, locking into vision, rising after every fall. All of it is designed to reconstruct your mindset and elevate your daily choices until you become hard to shake. Now bring it back to the anchor phrase because this session has a name for a reason. Become hard to shake is not a mood. It is not something you feel once and keep forever. It is something you practice. You practice it when you wake up tired and still do the next step. You practice it when you feel embarrassed and still return. You practice it when you fail and still refuse to let failure write your identity. The strongest people are not defined by luck, talent, or circumstance. They are defined by decisions made repeatedly when no one is watching. They act with discipline, they maintain standards, they rise through adversity, invisible work, quiet rituals, consistent choices. These are the foundations of unshakable confidence and unstoppable progress. And understand this clearly. Unshakable does not mean emotionless, it means stable. It means you can feel pain without collapsing, you can feel fear without surrendering, you can feel doubt without obeying it. That stability is what makes you become hard to shake. Now it is your turn, take ownership of these lessons. Integrate them into your life, show up each day with intention, protect your mind, align your actions with your vision, refuse to compromise your identity for temporary comfort. Each time you push through fear, doubt, or fatigue, you reinforce the version of yourself capable of extraordinary results. Remember this: strength is built, not given. Confidence is earned, not borrowed. Success is the outcome of consistent identity-based action. And when you fall again, because you will, do not panic, do not dramatize it, do not surrender the identity you have built. Debrief, rest, reset, return, become hard to shake.
Want the written version? Grab the PDF for half a cup of coffee, $2. Link is in the description and the comments.